in this in terms of what the average week might look like for you during the season? Because you mentioned things like facilities, the commercial side of things, the recruitment, the finances. So there's a lot to unpack there, George. Like, how do you structure your week in terms of, is there certain parts of the season where some of them, like sponsorship, for example, is that mainly done in the off season and it's kind of a maintenance mode?
Yeah, so I suppose the answer, Chris, that you'll get off probably a few different people in similar positions is, whilst you try and be structured with it, it's heavily unstructured. So the games provide structure a little bit, so you can work from home game to home game, but in season, the role is often that of a firefighter or a problem solver.
Yeah.
So there can be any manner of different things that crops up that has to be dealt with there and then, and it can't wait. So a good example would be last season. At the start of last season, we had to make a managerial change after 4 games.
Yeah.
That was not in the plan whatsoever, and that becomes nearly a full-time job. Dealing with that process, and you can't really delegate that out, and the time constraints on it are key.
Yeah.
So effectively you almost have to clear the desk and get on with that, and there can be that level of task to accomplish across really all areas of the club. So the challenge becomes really prioritizing what's the most important, what's the next important, and what isn't urgent. We don't have a huge staff that we can delegate loads and loads of different stuff to, but have to empower staff to go off and do their own thing at times as well, just because there's only 24 hours in a day ultimately. So yeah, probably not a great answer that, to be fair, and probably
No,
I think if you were talking to someone in the Premier League, there could be very much, we have this meeting on a Monday and it has these outcomes. We do this on a Wednesday and it has these outcomes. We do this on a Friday and it has these outcomes. We don't have sufficient volume of staff to be able to do that. So it's very much dealing with the challenges as and when they present themselves. We do build some structure in, but we have to be flexible as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say that you enjoy the most about your role then, George, in terms of not just the role now, like in terms of the Tamworth, the Chester, like that kind of role? What are you enjoying the most?
I think one thing that perhaps people don't quite grasp with some elements of being at a club of this size, Chris, is you can have a little bit of involvement in everything. I wouldn't really see myself being happy working in a Premier League size club necessarily, because I think you can become a narrow expert. I think you can become you can have expertise in a really narrow field, whereas I wouldn't profess to be an expert in anything at all, but I've got a reasonable to decent understanding of lots of different areas, and I feel I can. My job's to bring everything together and to look at the big picture of stuff. I don't feel that it would suit me to be in that environment whereby you're responsible. You've got really deep expertise, but in a really narrow area. It does suit lots of people, and obviously, if you're talking about expertise and real deep expertise at Premier League level, I don't think you can necessarily compare the two. You can have both. You can have either very, very deep expertise, but I think it has to be then in a narrow job, because the breadth that you would be expected to cover doesn't really work. So if you're talking about, you only have to look at a team photo or a who's who on a website or a bench on a match day at Premier League level, where you've got a match day squad of 20 and you've probably got another 20 staff around it as well. And I think a lot of people from the outside are looking, what does that person do? What does this person do? But they're leading experts in a certain area, but that's going to be a very specific role and a very specific kind of marginal gain or whatever that they bring to their club, I suppose.
I think like just going from the analyst, that's topic on the analyst. So like back in the day, it was just a single analyst. Now you have a set piece analyst, a a first team analyst, an academy analyst, a recruitment analyst, a data analyst. So it's just branching out and using, see, it's a different role in different clubs, like you said right at the start. And if you've got these extra resources, you can then niche down. But yeah, sounds like you kind of get your hands dirty in everything, George, to be honest.